So moved.
Second.
Please join me to pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The motion to go on the super funds.
I move that we talk about our executive session. Is that, sorry, what is your,
You're gonna move on the
on the executive session? Yeah, I'll make the motions. So I move to $349.91 on HA-2025-5. $479.90 on HA 2025-7. $412 on HA 2025-10. $469.90 on HA 2025-11. And on 2025-4, I move $1,150, no, up to $680, up to $1,680,
$85. $16.85.
thank you, $1,685.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Adjustments to the agenda. I think we have at least one. And that's
Yeah. Is it 10-6 or,
10-6.
or is it old business 11-1?
It'd be new business.
Okay.
Which is going to be
Medomek Valley,
Potomac River.
Medomek River,
renaming the property on Friendship Street.
405,
The 405.
the 405.
River Community Park.
Any others? Public hearings, none. Looks like we have a presentation tonight. Conrad, and talk to us about the Economic Development Committee.
Hi, first off, my name is Conrad Winslow, and
Sorry.
let the record show that my last name is Winslow. I know it's a little thing, but I think it's a last name worth fighting for. There used to be more Winslows around here, and I'm trying to bring them back.
I think it was in my head, sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No harm done. All right, so I came before you about a year ago when we did our first, since I joined the Economic Development Committee annual report. It may turn into twice a year, but so far it's just been once a year. So I'm going to go through the items that we looked at, the achievements we made last year, actually, we have 4 recommendations in all, and some of the projects that we're looking at going forward. This report was drafted by a member of our committee, Ann Lehman, who's here, and she's welcome to respond to questions when we get to that. Or you want to come on up? Yeah. So let's just start by going through our achievements. The first thing we did was we updated the town website with a whole section on how to start a business with financial resources, general advice, guidepost. I mean, just kind of signposting who to contact and where you might want to start. A lot of that was led by Anne, and we worked with Julie in the town, and we got some nice images. And so that's up and running, and I would love to look into what kind of impact that website has had, or that change to the website has had, and if we want to keep fiddling with it going forward. That would be useful to see, I think. The second thing that we did is a project that's going on right now. We started by putting out an RFP to create a new gateway signs for the town. We put out that RFP. We got a couple responses. We chose graphic designer Cindy Butler, with whom we're working currently. She's come to the committee a couple times. She presented mood boards. She got a lot of feedback from us and some members of the public who came to our committee meetings. And then she presented to us concepts. These are not final images. These are more big ideas. You know, what's the concept for the sign? So we went through about 4 different concepts. We eliminated one of them. And this week, Cindy is working with the town and she's going to put up in the lobby or somewhere in the building on sandwich boards. Remains to be seen, but we want to get input from the public on these concepts. So we have 3 concepts for the signs. I don't want to go into the details of that here because that's going to be taking place this week and we're going to get input from the public. Basically, at this stage of the design process, we want to gauge where the enthusiasm lies for these signs. Again, the images that she's going to be presenting this week are not, it's this or nothing. It's more like, this is the general idea for this. And if we're really excited about this concept, then she'll come back to our committee and give us a bunch of versions of that concept. And then we can start to narrow down and then work towards actually sourcing the cost and so on and the location of these signs. So we're making good progress on that. I like this process because it's not the fastest possible way to go about it, but it's not wasting anybody's time. We're getting input from the public at every stage to make sure that we are staying in contact with the people of Waldoboro and we're not just throwing this together willy-nilly. And we're really excited about working with Cindy on that.
The perfect time too. There'll be a lot of traffic in the next month.
Yes, I'm happy about that. The third thing we did is we coordinated with Ruben's help this whole Fidium thing. So Ruben has been phenomenal as a liaison between the town, grant-making organizations, Max and others, and the public as well. When we were figuring out how to pay for this, how to get public support for it, Ruben was instrumental in making sure that people were informed about how this would go down. So that's on its feet. You see the Fidium. I don't need to go into that, but it's all underway. So the next thing is our plans for the current year. This is just going through projects that we're discussing right now. There are 4 specific recommendations that we want to make to the select board today. The first thing is connecting to a forum about downtown development that we held last year. There was a lot of interest by the public in the Worcester parking lot, and now that the town owns it, a lot of people would like to see something happen sooner rather than later in terms of maximizing the efficiency of that parking lot, making it more public. It's well known that the parking lots in town could be better signed, the names of them better marked. So our recommendation around this is look into short-term rather than long-term ways of improving the Worcester lot. There's a more expensive long-term version where we get the engineering and we do everything. But what we want to look at is what can we do in the short term to make that lot work better. So there's some specific items here that we're talking about here. A blue parking sign, signs, entry, exit, traffic flow. Just can we get temporary striping in there to make it clear how to park? We've had members of the community who are interested in placing bike racks. The question of the tree that takes up space in the lot, which we know is a memorial tree for, correct me if I'm wrong, for Betsy Worcester, is that right? The tree that's in the Worcester lot?
She liked it a lot.
Oh, but it's not, okay,
It's not for her.
it's not for her, but we don't, who is it memorializing? Do we know that?
Might be Helen. Might be a memorial for Helen.
Okay,
Good mother, Ted woman.
Worcester, Ted Worcester.
Ted Muller.
so that's one of the questions, is it's taking up space in the lot, and any engineering plan that was done would involve removing that tree. So that's something, could we move that tree? How can we maximize the use of that lot, and can we do it cheaply soon to make it easier to use that lot and more efficient? The next thing is something that Max is already working on. we revisited the downtown revitalization plan from 2011. It was actually never voted on in a town warrant manner, so it's going to be voted on this summer. We worked with Max on updating that plan and making some little edits here and there, and also setting in place a process to revise it every couple of years, so it doesn't just sit on a shelf for a decade. We want to be active in communicating with the public and with grant making organizations. How can we move this effort forward and get this engine turning again? How do we make in other words, how do we start with the village and radiate outwards from that to get this kind of business engine going again? How do we get more activity? So we simply recommend that the select board approve this effort to put this on the town warrant. The next one is about general downtown village beautification. A number of members of our committee and members of the public have brought different ways to do this to our attention. Some of the ideas: limbing some trees that are obstructing views of the river, trimming back bush from the walkways. So making it a priority for Public Works to weed whack, clean up the sidewalks around the village, repairing sidewalks, and then adding signage. That's something that might be coordinated with a larger wayfinding campaign. It was probably going to be the next step past the gateway sign. It's just general wayfinding signs to help visitors make sense of what they're seeing. So that is our next recommendation is, can we work with Public Works on prioritizing beautification in the village? And this leads to the next item here, which is more extensive efforts for downtown beautification. Ted Wooster used to work on holiday decorations, for instance, and that was a private effort. And now that he's gone, that has fallen away. How can we either work with Public Works and members of the community, or how can we coordinate efforts by private organizations or private individuals to do something like that again? How can we bring back holiday decorations, for instance? And then there's just some items here about coordinating curbside appearance issues. One idea that's in here is possibly renting a street sweeper to help clean after all the winter stuff. I don't know the cost of that, but that would be one idea. Working with the garden club to do a more extensive flower box campaign, I guess you could call it. So this is simply about, we're just asking the select board to approve efforts which include research for how do we get the downtown beautification efforts going, working with private individuals and businesses as well. The next items are not, we're not looking for recommendations, or we're not looking for approval by the select board, but this is just simply going through some other projects that we've been talking about. Starting a database of vacant properties to make it really easy to see in one place the vacant buildings. I know that these are all properties that are owned by private individuals, but it's simply an effort to bring to the general public's attention, you know, what is sitting vacant and why. I mean, a lot of people ask the same questions. What's going on with that building? What's going on with that building? What's going on with that building? And it might be easier if we can see in one place, well, here's a database. These are the buildings that are sitting vacant. And these are the reasons why. This is simply a research problem, research subcommittee project for us. The next one is a walking history of the streets project. We've looked at doing something like this, like you see the in Wiscasset and Thomaston. So this is something we're starting to look at, and obviously we could work with Bill and the Historical Society on an initiative like this. The next one is just about publicizing items that will help residents and being a little bit more systematic about it. For instance, there was this great program called the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston Permanent Rate Buy Down Program. So it's a little bit convoluted, but if you had a mortgage that was high, you would have gotten it recently, and you make up to 80% of the area median income, this bank would then buy down your mortgage above a certain percent, which is a really great deal. But it's not the most straightforward thing to access. It's a kind of a convoluted deal. So so this is one of the other items of our committee is if we find programs like this that would make a huge impact for people, how can we put this stuff into one place and make it more digestible?
Can you explain what you meant by buy down?
Yeah, so if you got a mortgage that's like 6%, and you're making up to 80% of the area median income, you can apply for this program, and that bank would then basically refinance your mortgage
At a lower rate.
at a lower rate. I
All right.
forget it's, yeah.
So it's not something that anybody in the town office does apart from pointing them toward the bank.
Just two things I'll point out that one, they have renewed that program, so you
Yeah.
can go to any local main bank and they would know about this program. And two, it's 2% below the market rate. So if the usual market rate is about 6%, they'd offer 4%. I'm biased because I got into that program.
So
And
the-
Max has been a great spokesperson for it.
And so this is a great deal, and that really that could make an impact on people. I mean, obviously, if you got a mortgage 5 years ago, you're probably doing pretty good. So the last item here was just ongoing research into housing stuff. We've looked at tax deductions for workforce housing, different programs for ADU construction, pre-approving code compliant housing plans. This is something that Max has talked about, that would speed the construction of housing. Again, this is just an ongoing research project for us. Is what are the impediments to housing? What are the things that the town really can address? Stuff that isn't so abstract, it would need legislative work at the federal or state level. So that's it for most of this stuff. The last thing here, longer term plans, is we were just talking about some other projects. And you want to just finish up by describing that?
Oh.
The longer term ideas here.
Yes, you know, one of the things that people have said is that folks come in from out of town and they're looking for the ship. Where's the 5-masted schooner? Well, we only have one. And then I was at the Maine Maritime Museum and saw that phenomenal sculpture of the 6-masted schooner, the Wyoming. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's just terrific. And it's not a actual, you know, go and knock on the wooden sides. It's a fabulous tubular metal representation of it. So you get a sense of how long it was, how wide it was, and how incredibly tall the masts were. And it just seems like it's something that would be exciting for the town to have and place possibly at the landing. I know I'm creating all kinds of weird ideas of extended land and so on and so forth, but something to have in the back of our minds as a way to help people understand just the size of these ships, the work and the innovation.
We just had a comment. Can you step up? They can't hear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, sorry.
At least move microphone
Sure.
to the part.
I'm sorry. Yes, just I was describing the idea of doing a 5-masted schooner replica representation along the lines of the one that Maine Maritime Museum has in Bath of a 6-master, where you get a sense of just the enormity of this thing that was created here by people who didn't have big lifts and they didn't have excavators and what have you. Ideally, it could be installed at the town landing. Goodness knows where else. This is very far in the future. We've also discussed the possibility of doing some bike paths from the park and ride lot on Route 1 down into the village. People have recalled that it used to be that bicyclists would come and make a specific trip to Waldoboro to the, excuse me, the bakery that was here. And I'm a big fan of bicycling for pie. So, I mean, certainly Moody's would be a place that people could bicycle to. But again, we have some issues with infrastructure. And if we have, it's a lot easier to be comfortable leaving your bike in a new place if you can lock it. And so it would create more of a, wow, let's do our 40-mile ride, 20 miles from wherever, and then get our pie, because of course we've burned it off and, pedal back, just to raise the awareness of Waldoboro in people in the surrounding communities and in visitors. The other possibility being some sorts of walking paths along the river, because the river is such a gorgeous central part of our town, but it's not very easy to access. And trying to raise the awareness of the beauty of the river, the role it's played in our history, and just let people introduce themselves more to it has been something we've been trying to put our minds around. And basically what we're trying to do more than anything is to help the town grow, but not destroy the elements of Waldoboro that make it unique. And that is why we're all living here today. So, thank you. If you have questions, we'll take them.
I got a quick couple comments. You mentioned the schooner.
Yeah.
In 2023, when we did our celebration for Waldoboro's 250th, we were down the town landing planting a tree. The last day, there's a tree actually planted that we put there. I don't remember what kind of tree it was. Do you, Bill?
Something, I don't know.
It was a unique tree we planted. And there was a gentleman there observing it, the long time resident of Waldoboro. And he mentioned that exact thing about putting some type of sculpture of a schooner at the landing. So
Great minds.
I thought about it.
Well, we do have a sculpture.
A life-size true,
Not, no, we
five-
have
no.
a small one.
Yeah, we have a small one.
From the sculpture on Bremen Road.
Nichols,
Nichols, yeah.
right, it's still down there.
And it's still down there.
And that's been given to the town, to the historical
This is-
society, to the town,
Huh.
to the historical. Nobody's gone down and got it.
It's small, but it is a 5-mast schooner.
And the post office has 5 minutes.
they've got one in the mural.
They've got a painting, yes.
I know
Yes,
that,
like the painting.
Willie Wong had, do you remember during the 250th, he was going to make a virtual one that we could hold up, you could hold up your phone
Which is still a great idea.
and
Yeah.
it would appear magically. So maybe we could have a kiosk with a magical appearing schooner.
With a ship building behind it.
Kind of cool thing.
Another thing was you talked about some work here downtown, necessary work by DPW. I think some of those, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, those downtown.
So we did put the
Oh,
grant is in this
Mhm.
year's budget and we are waiting patiently for the contracts from the state. So there will be work downtown, well, depending how long it takes the contracts. I kept saying, I thought, okay, it'll be this summer, but it might be into the fall.
Yeah.
But definitely design will start, hopefully soon as we get those contracts. And then,
That's for the speed
But for what?
tables.
but that's for, well, we've got 200 and, well, technically 200, we put 210. So, around $400,000. So
Mhm.
some of those things could include the bump outs
Right.
for, the curbing. I'm sure there was a design at one time that people could see where there was actually flowers. In the median, there was a median that you can't put probably where it was originally designed
Uh-huh.
conceptually, have to move it back so those big trucks can make the turn. But all of that will be open to design and Max and I will, well, we'll be having a forum on that for sure. But I also think one thing, we're about to have a change in Public Works in our director,
Mhm.
Will Pratt, who is, I think if you invited him to a meeting, would love to come because he has some really wonderful ideas about what role he sees for Public Works downtown.
We will do that. That'll be great. yeah.
So I think that would be a great first step is just invite him maybe to your next meeting. because I know, he has a lot of great ideas. I'm sure he'd love to share with you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Consider it done. We'll invite Will.
Maybe he'll bring a blue parking sign so we can go and stick it up there on our way home.
Oh, and if there's a, like you said, it could be a part of an overall concept of signs, but yes, he could probably make some of those small things happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say low hanging fruit first rather than start with a master plan that'll take 30 years.
I really like that, Conrad, when you said, what can we do now?
Yeah,
Oftentimes we get stuck around the bureaucracy and we have committees after committees after committees and nothing gets accomplished. If we can find the little things that get taken care of, people start seeing change. And it gets people excited,
there's a snowball effect.
but when all they hear is a meeting, and no decisions being made.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, let's make a decision.
Yeah.
And let's get it done,
well, I think you'll
as
remember.
long as we do it legally.
Conrad came a year ago and said he would be back with recommendations. And in the 8 years I've been here, this is the first time the EDC has come to the select board and actually given recommendations like that.
Well, that's our job, isn't it?
I'm just saying. It's wonderful.
Well, it's it's a start, and thank you for listening to us, and come in this week and have a look at the concepts for the gateway
Can it
signs.
stay up for like, I'd like to get it so well, we're starting to get more people coming in and paying their taxes.
Yeah,
So it would be great if we could leave it up for a few weeks. You might get some really great feedback.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to
And
continuing.
we can
this
put it out
conversation.
on Facebook, just to let people know to look for it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is not that it's the final say and this is the sign. We just want to show people these are the three concepts and what are people really excited about here. So that we're not spinning our wheels, especially with when you've got a great designer, you don't want to have them do 15 versions and all of those were totally the wrong direction. You know, we're trying not to waste people's
Yeah,
time.
you get all these ideas, everyone's got all these
Yeah.
great ideas, but no one wants to.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
We want to start narrowing down.
And,
Yeah.
and we would love to have your support in this so that the message gets out that, no, we're not absolutely going to have that picture with that butterfly on it. It's just, do you like the general way this one looks
Right.
more than you like the way that that one looks? But not to get bogged down, so easy to get bogged down in the minutia. And here we really want people to just get, oh, I like the way
What's the vibe? Yeah,
that
of the sign.
feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have anything for them?
Okay, moving on, citizen comments, we have got a crew in here this morning, is that name? Hi,
I'm here for Jefferson Street.
can you come up to the podium, please, so people can hear you?
It's, I'm here because it's spring and the ice is out and we enjoyed very much having the traffic slow down after the radar signs went in. But the traffic is picking up again. It's loud and it's fast. And so several of us have noticed that, and we wonder if there's a prognosis on getting those radar signs fixed.
So I don't know about the state one, because that's the one on Friendship, but I can tell you that I talked to one of the guys that would be fixing the sign, and their aim was to get it done this week.
Great, that's all three of the broken ones, maybe?
So.
Three are broken, I think. The one on Friendship, the one and the.
So the one on, the one on Friendship is the only one we have control over.
Oh, okay, so
So I don't have any control over the one, I don't know what the DOT will be doing with the one on Friendship. I can only tell you that our Public Works guys are gonna be working, I think, this week on the one on Jefferson Street.
Oh, the state has 3 of them?
No, we have
We
one.
have 2, there's 4 total. There's one on each side of Main Street,
But
and there's Jefferson Street and Friendship.
the only sign that we have is the one on Jefferson.
Who has the one on Friendship?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have two.
I'm sorry, you're right. There's two on Main Street. Yes. Jefferson and Friendship. Yes. They're both. Yes. Sorry. I was thinking,
So those are the ones that are gonna
And
get
then
work
town,
fixed this week?
yes, sorry.
That's great.
Totally Main Street went in my head. I'm like, we only have one. We have one set. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Two.
yes.
We have a pair.
That's great.
Yeah,
They'll pair.
they'll be getting back, they'll be getting them back up and.
That's very encouraging.
Mhm.
The other question is, the recommended slippery curve sign. Is there a plan for that?
So that's a DOT. And I was told that they would put them in after the ground fall.
Oh, the DOT, what, I thought they just recommend, doesn't the town put it in and the
No, my
DOT
understanding
suggest
was
it?
that the state was putting that in. It's a state road, so it's their sign.
Okay,
Yes.
all right then.
So, and I have emailed them about when are you doing this? And they should also be contacting the homeowner with the drainage issue
Okay,
to make sure that that happens.
okay,
Mhm.
great, thank
So
you.
that should be it. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
It was my thinking ahead of my brain.
We have a lot of signs.
Well, but yeah, we talked about that today.
Any other comments from the citizenry? Mr. Maxey, looks like you have something to say.
No.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad for an old guy. No, I'm here. My name is Dale Maxey. I lived in this town for 84 years so far, and I'm here to complain about Winslow's Mills. I think John can remember back, a movie could have been made there years ago. It always was a neat community. I've been waiting for the last 12 years for the damn post office to either get torn down or whatever. And I think maybe the best name for Winslow's Mills would be either Trash Mills or Lazy Mills. I never see so much junk in my life in such a small community. And hopefully it's not going to cost the town anything. Actually, I believe the code enforcement officer has the power. I talked to Darrell Kinney, and he says that the ordinance was still in place, which was put in probably 1960, whereas anybody had over 3 automobiles that wasn't registered, wasn't running, that they either had to get a junkyard license and put up an 8-foot fence. Where the old restaurant and post office, there's 3 junk cars there now. The only car that looked like it might make it back on the road, apparently somebody backed into it this winter and stole the rear quarter panel out in the taillight. The drug bust that took place last Tuesday night, that guy had a pickup truck that sat there for 3 weeks loaded with garbage, clean up to his cab. And I came by, I think a couple of days after the drug bust, the garbage was gone. Unfortunately, I come by a couple of days later, the pickup had been moved, and there's all the garbage piled in front of his doorstep. I mean, it's a mess everywhere in that Mills. And hopefully it should be cleaned up. Now, I heard a lot about cleaning the town up, which I'm all for too. But Winslow's Mills is a disaster. And across from Reed's, that guy has got 4 junk vehicles there and a lot of trash. Now, I'm sure if one of us did that the code enforcement officer probably be knocking on a door and say, clean that up. Now, do you know if anything is ongoing, or is it just at a?
Yeah, go ahead.
All of those things are ongoing. with
Yeah.
code enforcement.
Now, the other thing is the old church. That's, the steeple is about ready to come down. And hopefully when it does it, some of the debris
The
won't
day
fly
you
out
were
into.
in, Daryl did relate your issues to the code enforcement officer, and those are all ongoing issues with the code enforcement officer.
Great,
And I know he did inspect or at least talk to the owner of the person who owns the church. But you can always call Mark or stop in and see him. He's our code enforcement officer.
yeah, I tried that last week, but he was
Yeah,
out.
he's out, but he's in and well, it's past 6 o'clock, so he's not here tonight, but at this point, but I can have him
Yeah,
call you and
yeah.
give you an update on
Yeah.
all of those
The
issues.
name of the TV program was Mayberry. I just remembered it, and that could have been filmed there years ago. And That's all I got to say.
Nice little.
Just as long as I know something's gonna happen,
Yeah.
because I don't have that much longer to live. I'd like to see the place cleaned up. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Any other citizen comments? From Bill. Select board comments. Abden, I'm good.
All set.
Mike?
I have just one minor issue, or it's not an issue, but it's a question. I think it's probably 2 months ago, we issued a contract to rebuild the Elm Street Bridge, the Elm Street culvert. When does construction start?
We had our pre-construction contract signing. It'll probably be in August. We still have some details about the temporary roadway to work out with a property owner.
Okay.
Because we're gonna have to go through their property to get people out.
What's that?
Yeah, also, yep.
I've got a couple things. One, just to note that the Waldo is having a great concert this Saturday, 7:30, The Finest Kind. It's a review featuring Kenya Hall, Dominic Lavoie, and Sarah Boyden. And I hope you take the opportunity to go and enjoy some music. And Rebecca Waddell asked me to say two things. She's not here tonight. One is a gentle reminder that people walking, biking, riding horseback, moving tractors between fields and so forth are sharing the road. The law is to give them 3 feet, but more is better if it is safe to do so. So she wanted to remind people of that. Her neighbor's almost been hit twice out riding her horse or mule, and another neighbor is teaching a child to ride. And if people aren't watching out for things like that, someone's going to get hurt. And the second request from Rebecca was to note that Mark Berger has a community cleanup scheduled for May 3rd from 8 to noon on the Pine Street Landing. That's, I think, the first spring pickup of roadside garbage and stuff that we do every year. So put May 3rd on your calendar, 8 o'clock.
And just to echo what Bob was saying about Mark Berger, I've seen it on the book, Facebook. He's really taking the bull by the horns and he's helped organize this. So I don't know the gentleman, but we'll probably meet him on May 3rd. I just got a couple small things, but actually not small. I want to publicly thank the budget committee and the select boards. Pretty much every week of March, we were in this room. I looked how many, I could figure out how many hours total we worked on the budget. And we've got that behind us now, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that later today. I attended the firemen's banquet on Saturday evening, a firefighters annual banquet. They recognized the junior firefighters. We have 5 junior firefighters, I believe. And they were all there and they're pretty excited, and it's good to see the young folk in there. And I also attended the school board meeting last Thursday. They just finished up their budget. They hadn't voted, they were gonna vote on it that evening, but they're waiting on some numbers to figure out what the insurance is gonna cost for the year. I don't think they're gonna vote on it. They may be voting on it this Thursday to get it to go to the public hearing on May 13th. That's all I have.
I don't have anything.
Really?
I figured we had a really long meeting, so I was keeping my
Okay.
comments short.
All right, how about a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor? New business. The long discussion Billy was talking about, and we are going to discuss the warrant finalization.
So, what is your pleasure? Do you want me to read the warrant? Or do you want me to highlight the warrant? This is the question every year.
I just highlighted.
I would agree.
Yes. So,
42, 43, 44 articles. 52 articles, we might want to highlight.
you might want to highlight them. So I will go over this. briefly, I will just say that one of the things that goes unnoticed, and I say all the time that budget season is the most wonderful time of the year in Waldeboro. And I think that serving on the budget committee is one of the most important roles that a citizen can take in the town. Everybody thinks that, oh, the select board has all the power, and I think it's the budget committee, quite frankly, because the budget committee is a representation of our entire community, also elected, and come at things from a totally different point of view, and can actually the debate that happens and discussions are amazing at the budget committee and select board meetings when we're going through the budget. So many different points of view are expressed and negotiated. And it's just, I think, one of the most important things, because it really determines, this process determines what is in this warrant and what basically our town wants to accomplish. It gives us a roadmap for the next year. So I think it's one of the most important things that you can do for civic duty. Anyway, we had an exceptionally long budget process this year. It was longer than it has ever been before, but it was, I think, very informative. And I think a lot of wonderful questions were asked. I hope we provided the answers that everybody needed. But I just thought it was a great process, and it really is one of the most wonderful times of the year. How we ended the budget process was with no increase to the town portion of the budget of your overall tax bill. You will see 0 increase from the town over last year. That doesn't mean you won't see an increase because of the school or of the county. We did have a land reval, so there will be some adjustments there. But as far as the spending portion of our budget, there will be 0 increase that you'll see from the town. Another thing that most people don't see unless you watch the meetings or attend, and we had 2 diehard residents who attended every meeting. It was great. We really appreciated that. Rebecca was one of them, Rebecca Cooney, and Ben was our other attendee. And what really struck me with Ben is he's a new resident, and I could probably be his mom. And a lot of times you don't see some of the younger generation participating in coming to budget meetings that could be a little bit dry, but he was here and I thought that was phenomenal. So how the process works, for those that don't know, is we put together a budget, the department heads and I, and we present it to the select board and the budget committee. Each of the department heads has to come in and talk about their budget, and through a lot of questioning and review of the budgets, sometimes the budget is left alone by the budget committee and the select board, and other times there's reductions made in concert with each other. So what you'll see on the articles when they come out is each department has an expenditure, and on them they will be how the select board voted and how the budget committee voted. And what you will also see is sometimes a explanation of why something was decreased or increased. So Article 7, I'll just use an example. It's for our finance and customer service department. There was a decrease of $2,606 from the initial request. And that decrease was because the select board budget committee and the department had agreed to decrease that line item. So why we add those notes is because we don't want people to think that the department heads come in and they ask and they get whatever they want. We want to make sure that people realize that there are 2, the budget committee and the select board actually look at these things and talk about them. And it's not just a rubber stamp. So there are some explanations in here as to how they're voted on. So we have governmental articles, and that contains the select board, town manager's office, assessing department, finance and customer service, town clerk, municipal building, our public safety articles. And I will tell you that public safety made up the biggest increase. And most of that increase came from the EMS department. That was the largest increase. And that would public safety articles include EMS, fire, police, shellfish, animal control, emergency management. And then you move on to, we have fire hydrants and streetlights. You have your public works articles and that includes the Department of Public Works and Parks and Cemeteries. One of the items that we spent some considerable time on were our social service articles. That includes general assistance is in that line item. We did put on this year a little note that the state of Maine reimburses the town 70% of the cost of assistance that is provided to residents. I thought that was important to know so that when people see that we are spending money, we're also getting a offset of that money that is spent. One of the other things that we did to try to help with the burden on the taxpayers was the Waldeboro Food Pantry requested a $20,000 from the town of Waldeboro. So what we did was we put in a note that in order to offset the tax burden, the town is utilizing $10,000 from the Philbrook Fund to fully fund the $20,000 request. So when you see this article, it'll say, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the Waldeboro Food Pantry? So $10,000 is coming from the budget and $10,000 is coming from the Philbrook Fund. And the Philbrook Fund is a trust fund that was set up many years ago to help the quote deserving poor. And so we felt like that would be a good fit and a use for the Philbrook funds. The other articles that were, I would say, a lot of conversation was had about under community services. One was our recreation department. Our recreation department also has a enterprise fund, which is all the user fees from all the programs go into, and a decent balance has been accrued in that account. So we are going to work with our recreation director to come up with a plan for how those fees, any excess fees, should be utilized in the future. For many years, there was not much of a balance in that account, but over the past, I would say 2 to 2.5 years, that balance grew because of the success of our summer program going from part-time to full-time. So that was one of the good things that came out of all these discussions. The other things that we've changed is we explained what the snow crawlers were, because last year, you used to just get a community service articles and it was one amount. And then last year we broke all of these out. And one of the things that we figured out was nobody knew what a snow crawler was. So we explain it as this is offset. So the $1,000 that the snow crawlers have asked for this is offset by fees paid to the town for snowmobile and ATV registrations. The snow crawlers, a volunteer organization, maintain 30 miles of groomed snowmobile trails in Waldeboro. So we just thought like a little explanation would be helpful. And another big change is we also took the typical request from Healthy Kids and we moved that to a trust also, the Fennelly Fund that covers provision of services for children and families. And we thought that that would help offset some of the costs there. So some of these community service agencies that you would have typically seen, Healthy Kids, Spectrum Generations, that you won't see that on the warrant because that is now being funded through a trust. Trying to see what other fun things we had. Oh, I should also mention, let me just go back to public service, public safety. One of the things we did too, that the select board, I thought was important that we say was, we decreased EMS, a decrease of 30,144 from the initial request by Select Board Budget Committee and Department Head. A portion of this appropriation is offset by service charges. I thought that was important to add there because I think people have to realize that although it's a large number, there is a revenue component to it, but you're not going to see that in the revenue fund. And we also said that for police because we do get a reimbursement for school resource officer. So there is a little blurb in there. So I hope you like those. If you don't like that, we can change that. And then the other, we have planning and development articles. That's for our code enforcement and planning and the typical insurance, debt service articles. And then our transfer station, our fund, our portion for the transfer station. I added a note that towns of Friendship and Cushing share in the cost of the operation of the transfer station. I don't know if you want me to put percentages in there. Or,
But if you could mention the pay-as-you-throw presentation we're hoping to have, not in the warrant.
not in the warrant,
No, no,
okay,
just.
yeah, well, we're talking about that later in the
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
So then Article 35 is all of our lovely revenue. Oh, capital reserve, I mean, that's our capital reserve. We did not specifically list what, well, we do in each line item, you can see if there was a decrease. In each specific line item. And then Article 36 is our revenue articles. And then we have ordinance articles. And I have Max here to explain Articles 37 through 39, if you would like to take some time and go over those. Chair, if you like that.
Yeah.
So come on up, Max.
So you're looking at Matt.
I was looking at you.
I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
So the first one is revision to Article 6 of the land use ordinance.
37, yep. So Article 6 is just mostly amendments to the matrix. A lot of them were changes that were going to be done last year, but because we had a snowstorm, we couldn't hold a public meeting beforehand, so we wanted to work on a little bit more. So a lot of the changes were just long overdue, really. Mostly adding some new uses into the town, getting rid of some that caused a bit of controversy in the past. And then changing the setbacks for the industrial zones and historic village districts. Just because, again, there have been a few issues in the past with some industrial sites having 150-foot expectation away from the road, which I don't think any building in the industrial zones can accomplish that at all. And for the historic village, it's just reducing it, I think, from 15 to 5 feet. Again, because there have usually been some people trying to build a little bit closer because it's all they really have.
Yep.
So, any questions on the ordinance? And I'll have copies available when to upload on the town website when that page is ready.
And it'll be in our voter guide.
And 38 is the master plan.
Yep, and Conrad's gone over that already. It's very unfortunate that a lot of the downtown master plan is still relevant 10+ years later. But it just means that if we have it approved, I can use it to apply for some grant funding for downtown improvement.
And this was something that was done in 2011 and not approved in 2011.
It was approved by the select board, but for me to establish a downtown TIF district, for me to apply for some CDBG downtown revitalization grants, it does need to be approved by the town legislative body, which is a town meeting. Technicalities. And it is updated just a bit to include some things like I did extend the boundary out to include the Pine Street Landing and the 80 Gray Park area, just because the Pine Street Landing makes sense, including it for the waterfront. And for the 80 Gray Park area, one is for the park section of it. And because the 80 Gray, where the former 80 Gray building was, it is a brownfield site technically, and a slum and blight. And part of the downtown master plan was about trying to address those. So I want to just include those as well. I think that's about it. Any questions on the downtown master plan? And again, that will be available. And then the last one is the tax increment financing, because I think this is my curse to just always have this one every year at this point. Last time when Volunteers of America was here, they talked about working on what's called a credit enhancement agreement. So that's where they would pay their taxes to the town and they'd receive a portion of it back to go towards a certain use in town. In this case, I've talked with Brian Seitz a bit more to see what exactly he is aiming for this. And he couldn't be here tonight just because of another obligation. But the idea was about a 15-year term where the town would still get to keep 10% of the tax revenue, which I know some people are about to jump up and say something. But I would like to point to what our original agreement was with them, which was a 1.5%. I had it right there.
Payment in lieu of taxes.
No.
It was
a
1.5%
portion of their revenue.
of the revenue, yeah. So Brian estimated that was gonna be about $5,000, but with the credit enhancement agreement, that would be closer to $10,000. So we're essentially keeping twice as much money compared to the original agreement. It does have some longer term benefits. We could also amend the TIF district to extend for another 20 years if 75% of TIF revenues went towards affordable housing and transit related projects. I unfortunately couldn't talk with Tina Mullins, who would have given me some answers on what qualify for those projects, but but the credit enhancement from Volunteers of America alone would get us very close to that 75% threshold. So we could potentially extend our program for an extra 20 years, tripling how much money the town actually gets to save over a span of 50 years. So just for example, if we don't do anything, it's about $3 million the town gets from this TIF revenue. That ends in about 2049. But if we do the credit enhancement and we do extend this, then we could be saving $10 million and have the TIF run until 2069.
4 years old.
That's planning ahead.
And Brian is willing to come to like our public hearing or anything like that if you choose to put it on the warrant.
Is that in constant dollars or is it inflation adjusted in any way?
The credit enhancement?
Yeah, well, either one.
Well, the credit enhancement is always going to be based on Daryl's assessment or whoever the tax assessor's agent is. So I have $9,000 estimate because I asked Daryl very nicely to just give me some rough numbers, and I thought I had it with me, but maybe I don't. He estimated that based on what Volunteers of America was going to propose, it'd be about a $93,000 tax bill. So we get to keep 10% of that. So if we go through another revaluation and suddenly Daryl estimates it's going to be $200,000 in taxes, we get to keep 20,000.
Okay, so it is indexed
Yeah.
to property values, not
Right.
necessarily to inflation.
The good thing you know so much about property values and TIF.
I know, it's almost as if I've been dealing with this for so long.
It's like you could like do other things with that knowledge too.
I guess.
Is the tax enhancement agreement with Volunteers of America going to be documented?
Yes, so it would be an amendment that has to go through the TIF program. And that is just a special form that I have to have presented and again.
So that'll
publicly-
come here
Yeah.
once this is approved.
Yes, you will have a copy of it before the vote.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for this one or any of the other items I've talked about? So hopefully those are the only three I have to talk about.
You're good, Max.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do without you.
The next,
I had them with me under the laptop.
Article 4, is a ordinance entitled Sex Offender Registry Restriction Ordinance. And this ordinance would establish a 2,500-foot buffer for residency near schools and other publicly owned property where children gather. And this was brought up by an incident that occurred in Waldeboro recently. With somebody who was recently released, who was residing in proximity to the school. Many people thought that this was, handled under state law, that there was some kind of overreaching state law that prohibited, residency within 750 to 2,500 square feet. It is not a state law. It is something that each town has to adopt, on its own. So, it's basically in many states, and I think that was the prevailing thought when it was brought to everybody's attention, was that it was handled by the state at the state level, and it is not. It's something that the legislature puts in the hands of the town. And 41 and 42 deal with the interest about anybody who is late on taxes would be charged 7.5% per annum on all taxes unpaid. And again, if they're overpaid, they'd earn interest at 7.5%. Those are set by the state. And that's pretty much everything that we have that's new and exciting on the warrant.
We need a motion.
We will need a motion.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve articles 3 through 52 as written.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Get it printed.
Okay.
On the agenda is we have 10.2. Multi purchase approval, as you all recall during the budgets cycle. I thought maybe Will would be here for this one. No, he talked to us quite a bit.
He's talked to you quite a bit.
That they agreed that probably it's the best bet rather than renting and leasing a mulching head for his excavator for the next 3 or 4 years until we save up enough money, just buy one and then we pay for itself within 2 years. You've got a quote in there from the Public Works, future Public Works Director, purchasing this mulching head to go on the John Deere 135.
And it's for $26,898.
Make that motion.
It was cheaper than what they had originally thought.
I make that motion to purchase.
Second.
Head.
Only
Just
discussion.
just for the record, we had 10,000 saved already for it, so
Yeah.
really it's only 16,000, yeah, almost $17,000 more.
And it's a $10,000 annual rental that we've expended for many years, so.
That we won't have to
That we won't
expend
have to
this year,
expend.
And it
so it's
comes with a
really
lot of
only a
teeth.
$6,000
He
purchase.
got as many teeth as he could get.
Okay.
Yeah, and knowing from someone that just bought one at his work, this is a pretty good price for that. All in favor? Opposed? None? Next, we're gonna talk about 10.3. The letter for request for support from the Friendship Select Board.
Would you like me to go over that?
Yeah, you can.
The town of Friendship, wrote to us expressing concerns over the, RSU 40 school board, decision to move school board meetings back to the central office. They believe that having school board meetings in a centralized location within the district is the best policy to make sure that there's regular attendance and participation from all towns serving the district. Pre-COVID, the meetings were held at the middle school. That was the central location for the entire district and worked well for all district board members. And then during COVID, the decision was made to hold meetings at the central office. And that was not ideal for Friendship representatives to
Which is,
attend.
which is in Union.
Which is in
Excuse
Union,
me,
correct,
so
correct.
people know.
So the school board has since voted to remove the ability for members to participate online. You can no longer apparently do that, and that decision they felt seemed arbitrary, and when added to meetings being held at the central office, intended to force in-person attendance. They appreciate the need to create person-to-person bonds with the board to foster healthy working relationships. However, they feel as though decisions are limitations that target this decision are limitations that target communities on the district's fringe, the very communities that we feel the board should make every effort to maximally include. If the board doesn't want online participation, though that seems illogical in today's technologically driven world, then we feel the board should move the meetings back to the central location for all the district. So they would like, the select board of Friendship would like the select board of Waldeboro to support either the moving of the meetings back to the middle school or compelling them to keep the online and remote participation.
I'll make the motion to draft that letter and sign it.
I second it.
Like I said, I went there last Thursday for the meeting up in Union. And there was some discussion from some of the folks in the audience that could driving back out to Union. Like one person there said, the same distance from here to Friendship than it is from Friendship to here. So doesn't matter where it is, it's still quite a drive from Friendship. And even from South Waldeboro or even farther parts of Washington. All in favor?
I will craft a letter and then we will send it.
10.4, the use of trust fund policy.
So, when the discussion during the budget committee and select board came up about utilizing trust funds, to offset some of the use of taxpayer funding for some of these the agency requests and community service agencies. We thought it would be important, Peg and I, that we have some type of a policy so that we know what we're doing. And that it's written down in case we're not here to remember. We could get hit by a bus. So we came up, this should be included in our help me, Peg, it just left. Investment policy. Peg is currently revising that with the help of our fund manager from the first. So you will eventually see that in the near future. But I wanted to make sure that we had this in place since we were going to put this on the warrant. I called it a spending policy. Bob made the recommendation that it be called a distribution policy. Peg wasn't really happy with the word distribution. She liked spending better. If you two want to box it out, I'm okay with that.
The only thing I want to take issue with is the 5%. I think it ought to be a fixed amount, 4% at the discretion of the select board. That gives you the opportunity for growth as well as hopefully funds to use from capital appreciation and interest. Just my 2 cents. But it's great. And I think it's a good idea to have this.
My 2 cents on distribution versus spending was I didn't want to give a false thought that it's the town just making a distribution. To me, a spending policy was more concrete. To me, a distribution policy could be taken a few different ways. So I didn't want to do that. That was just thought it was simple.
It's a term of art and it's typically a disbursement in the financial world, but I'm really not hung up on that.
Anything else? Yeah. I have the samples.
Oh, yeah, Peg has samples
I have sample,
from our.
I have one for you if you want to. So what you're seeing here is the math behind the wording of the policy. Sure. Yep.
And I'll note when the original that I gave you by email had us saying, it said unrestricted funds. There are no unrestricted funds in our trust fund. They're all restricted. They all have restrictions either set by the donor or the town. And we like the 3 year because that gives you the average of the 3 years. Because you could have good years and you could have bad years, and it kind of levels it out so that you're really going based on what you're earning. So you're not, you're tied to, there's some theory behind it at least. It's a moving 3-year average market value. And it's the 3 years, each of the preceding 3 fiscal years divided by 3. The quotient is then multiplied by the spending percentage to determine the dollar amount available for the current fiscal year.
I'd like to compliment the first, the returns are pretty good.
And typically he comes once a year. He's coming,
I invited him, but he couldn't come till May, so he'll be here. I forget what date it is. I don't know off the top of your head either.
which is good because it'll give time for him to have more good news.
Yeah.
The last 2 times he's been here, it's been as the market has taken a little dip. The first time was during COVID's dip and then in 2022 again.
So you want a motion to accept this policy?
Yes.
I'll move.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? You want that signed tonight?
Yes.
This is this.
I can, I have to redo it. I want
Okay,
to
you
fix,
want-
I want to fix that little line there.
Yeah,
It makes
fix
me
that.
crazy. Yeah.
Okay, 10.5. Let's have a little discussion on the meeting that's scheduled for 5/13/2025.
So we were all excited because we were going to have a conversation with Waste Zero to talk about pay as you throw. Because the budget committee, during the budget committee select board meetings, the budget committee felt very strongly that they would like to hear more information about pay as you throw. So we thought we would have a meeting at the auditorium at Madomic Valley High School. And everything was great, all set, that she could be here May 13th. They had the auditorium available, and then that is also the night of the public budget hearing for RSU 40. So we didn't want the public to have to choose between which one to go to. So obviously, we are going to have to move that meeting. I have asked Waste Zero for some dates and I have forwarded those to the school. I just have to wait back to hear. So I will have to announce the new meeting date at some point in the future.
In addition, we need to move our regular select board meeting.
You would have to move your regular.
Because I'm
select
sure
board
some
meeting.
of us would like to go out to that public hearing to hear the school budget. So I would propose that we hold our select board meeting the Monday, the 12th. Probably get the room, I guess.
I'm pretty sure we can make that
I think
happen for you.
we have priority. So we'll move our meeting the 13th to the 12th. That way, the 13th, we can all ride up together to the school and listen to their presentation.
I will just say I may only be available by Zoom that day. But I'll be here.
So they won't be zooming out there anyway. We'll live stream.
I meant for the moving our meeting.
Oh, moving, I mean, that's fine. Just keep a pretty easy schedule.
Yeah, because we have the public hearing for the warrant that night.
The 12th is our public hearing then. That's fine.
Let's not do it without Julie here live.
What's that?
She's going to field a lot of the
Yeah,
questions
sounds good.
that's asked.
If you could do it that Wednesday, that would be better.
Yeah, I think that,
Could you do it Wednesday?
that way
instead?
we get a
Yeah.
consensus,
Yeah,
because I'm sure the budget committee
Wednesday's
folks
better
want to
for
be here
me.
too. For that public. hearing.
Wednesday would be
Wednesday's
much better.
worse For me.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, you went me good and alert that night.
6 o'clock again, on the 14th,
Yes,
6 o'clock.
you gonna vote on that? No, we didn't vote on that.
No,
That's just,
That's just
administrative scheduling, yeah.
We're just gonna move it from the 13th to the 14th here at 6. And
Yes.
then we're listening, we're waiting for pay as you throw date.
Yes.
Correct.
And we want to have that in the paper too, right?
Yeah, I'll fix that tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, 10.6. Renaming of the property down on Sylvania, on,
405.
405.
405 Friendship Road.
So I just want to say that the school, the response from the school when I dropped off the ballots and afterwards, and when they brought up the results from the naming, for those of you that don't know, there were 4 names given to the school kids at Miller School, and they got to vote and choose the name for 405 Friendship Road, the former Sylvania site. Is now called the Madomic River Community Park. And they got each child got a ballot, and on the back, there were the 4 names and an explanation of each name, which Mike and Miko put together. So it was right on the back. The teachers took the time to explain it. They taught the kids about the civic duty of voting. They had a ball. So when the results were dropped off, everybody said they had a ball. I posted the results that night. I cannot tell you how many people that I've run into have said our kids enjoyed it so much. I had a resident come in today, a new resident to town. He's only been here a year. His son was so excited that he got to help name the park. My own grandchildren got to vote. They thought it was great. So I think it really made the kids feel like they were involved in their community. So it was a great time was had by all. So that is the new official name if you guys so choose to adopt it. And I would ask that we rename the committee,
The MRCP.
the MRCP.
I'll make that note.
Motion to change that part. Any more discussion? Here on out, don't call it Sylvania anymore.
It's gonna slip out once at least.
What's that?
You need to practice. 'cause you don't want it slipping up.
We're calling it the 405.
A couple more discussion on that. Are we looking to maybe start getting some signage down there and let people know that that's the name of it? And like you said, the motion is to combine or to rename the name of that committee to the MRCP committee.
The Merp.
Madonna River Community.
Should have thought about that one.
And well, I guess we'll start with that motion first.
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? We're gonna talk about something else with that.
Yes. So I think too, that, I think we're at a crossroads of what the original committee's task was. And we're moving on to a new phase for what happens in the future. So I think, it's really important that you have representation. I had a conversation today with the same person who was excited about the park name, who came in, who wanted to volunteer. And that's a demographic that we don't have on that committee. So I think that it might be a great idea if the select board were to look at that committee and reevaluate what you want that committee to look like as you move forward. And what what you as a select board are going to task that committee to do, because sometimes I sit in these meetings and we get off task and we tend to, and I'm probably guilty of it too, is somebody new comes in and then we were rehashing history over. Sometimes I feel like it's Groundhog Day. And I think I think it would be great for the committee if you want to redirect what as the select board committee, essentially, I think you need to give them what their goals are. Well, what you want them to accomplish now that we're entering this next phase of the committee and what you would like to see accomplished. So I just think that, if we're leaning more towards into recreation, we have a recreation committee. We have one representative from there and Marcus sits in. But I think we have some members who no longer attend. So I think we really have to look at that and decide what you want to see and maybe ask the people who are already on the committee to reapply, and then see who else we might want to add so that we really get a true representation of the town of Waldeboro. Like some people who have children.
So do we want to rename the committee itself and have new reapplication for that committee?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah.
I make that motion.
Oh, okay.
I'll second it. Just want to be clear, that's all.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear.
So essentially and I certainly appreciate the work that
Oh,
the Sylvania Committee, I'll say it one more time, was doing back in the last, how many years?
Since 2016.
So a number of years, doing the research and the studying and finding all the particulars of that property and then the old Hofstas house, and then we'll talk about that next, Max, the Hofstas. But, but I think, like you said, we're to the point now, it's kind of like we're disbanding that committee and forming this new committee, which would be the Madomet River Community Park Committee.
Yep, I think it's a good idea.
Yep.
I mean, it's moving it forward.
All in favor? Opposed? And I think you folks, you've been on the board, you've been on that committee before and.
Well, technically, the
Start-
select
they're
board,
executive.
they're
Non-voting.
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 So,
If
but
it's-
like I said, we have people who don't show up. I think we just need to relook at.
But I think also it tasks us to give them direction of what to do and what we like the cement pad
So,
needs to get cleaned
There
up.
was I think yesterday there was some confusion about like what needed to go to the voters and I unfortunately I was not there. But even like, does Max have the authority to apply for grants already without voter approval? And he does have. It's the
This-
select board that gives the
Oh.
approval to apply for grants and things like that. So I just think we just need to tighten that up. So that,
I would look at Max, is there any grants out there that they're gonna be applying that we need to approve you to potentially go after for clapping off the cement slab or whatever?
The main one I'm going to apply for is land water conservation.
Do you need a motion for us to do that?
If you want, that's certainly
I think that's
nice.
the first step is something like that. And make that motion. To apply for the
Land water conservation.
land water conservation
And
grant.
that's the one for the replacement of the tennis courts that
Correct.
were at the
Correct,
AD school.
yes.
But
I
that
think-
grant, but just so everyone's aware, that's a grant that I'm applying for in like the end of June. There's still
Which is
some
fine,
time,
as
but-
long as it's in the process.
Yeah, you wanna do that now, just to clear it up?
Just to give you the authority to put the paperwork in for that.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
That's one more thing out of the way. Process wise.
Decisions, let's make them.
One other suggestion, it might be helpful to ask the outgoing chairman, because they're gonna elect a new, once the committee's reformed. To see if you wouldn't please come to us with a an encapsulation similar to what we heard tonight from economic development.
Yeah, that was really good. That was a good presentation.
Yeah, it was, to
It
see,
was.
to see where they feel they are in the process and what could be done.
I'll tell him to watch
step forward.
Conrad's
Yeah.
presentation, because he's got a lot to live up to.
Yep. It is.
I think they could take something out of that from the EDC. I think this new committee could take something out of that, the EDC's presentation. No, it's good.
Jeez, Michael. Way to be supportive, Michael.
Okay, I guess that's it for new business, old business.
There's-
There's any
There isn't any.
agenda for next meeting?
Do we need to draft language or include language in existing policy that tightens up the requests, future requests from social service agencies, particularly around if we've removed them from a warrant and funded them in a different way so that we have that historically what we would like to see happen?
We'll have that for you.
Okay,
We can do that.
thanks.
Pam will get right on that.
I saw her nodding yes over there.
She wrote it down already.
Yeah, even though we just did this, before we know it, next budget season will be here.
Well,
Just
just,
so everyone.
you
has
know, we
clear
could all get
understanding.
hit by a bus.
More likely to train.
Okay.
Tractor trailer coming down the hill.
Bus.
There is a bus.
Sunday mornings.
Mhm.
Big Apple.
There's a bus.
Every day.
9:10.
I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure something else will go on
Something
this
else will
agenda.
come up.
We actually have the code for 15, 14, 13. Oh wait. Is it Magtown? We have a Magtown code thing, and also I think an update from
Atlantic Highway, yeah, that's
1530.
22nd.
Do you want another committee?
No, I don't want a committee.
No, I meant, do you want another committee to come and report?
Oh.
Do you want recreation maybe?
I'd like to see recreation.
Okay,
You want two at once?
no, we only have.
I thought we were gonna have the former Sylvania come in and give us a recap.
Oh, that's what you want them then. He wants them then.
Scratch marks.
If they- if
Scratch,
they
get
wouldn't
rid of,
mind.
Well, let's see who's available.
yeah, we'll see who's available.
What would you say about, what's the Bangtown? What are you saying about Bangtown?
There's a code thing on Magtown Road. So it's just
You
that
must
they
have not
marked
talked to
already.
you.
Oh,
told me,
okay.
but I was,
Gotcha. It's, okay.
Couple of code things.
Code.
Yes.
With code enforcement stuff, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
that's all I have.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?